afraid to put yourself out there, make yourself cringe a little bit. Be very honest and specific about what you like and why you like it. What's up, everyone? It's Annabelle with That Good Sht. We are here on Deconstructed with VHS Boyz. And yeah, I'm a music curator. I run a page called That Good Sht. I'm also a DJ and like music content creator. A lot of my time involves sharing music, interviewing artists, putting on shows and stuff like that. I think it definitely came from my parents. Like my parents were always playing music around the house. My dad was really into like the Beatles, the Beach Boys, Jimmy Buffett, and like that kind of music, like real like hippie surfer dad music. And we would always like listen to music in the car, things like that. And my mom was definitely the reason that I fell in love with hip hop and like R&B. She was always playing like 50 Cent, Rihanna, Kanye from when I was like very young. My mom used to be a kickboxing instructor, and she had friends who would make her like mixtapes to play during her kickboxing classes with like a bunch of hip hop. So I remember like sitting on the side of her kickboxing classes and like watching her like lead these routines in sync with these hip hop and R&B songs, and that's where I really fell in love with like the like rhythm of like hip hop and R&B, and yeah, so it largely comes from my parents. As I got older, some of the albums that really got me into music, even on a deeper level, especially as I really started to form my own unique taste, was like Channel Orange by Frank, Because the Internet by Childish Gambino. And I also remember Currents by Tame Impala being a moment where I was like, okay, like I feel like I need music to be part of my world in a bigger way. Like I might want to work in music one day. That was when I really realized that. What's up, y'all? It's Annabelle with That Good Sht, and I am here with Dochi,
Rika Nasty,
Raven Lene,
KP,
Tia Corinne.
That was after I had already graduated college with a degree in environmental studies, and I wanted to be like an environmental lawyer. That's like a whole other side of my life that not a lot of people know about. A whole other passion is like I'm really into like environmental sustainability, nature, environmental justice. So that was the path I was going down. And then I graduated in 2020, like 2 months after the pandemic hit, so I couldn't get a job. And so I was just like at home. I started working at a restaurant, and then in my free time I started making just like TikTok videos about music because everyone was on TikTok. And I also was like in a college town surrounded by a lot of people who were listening to just kind of like fratty music, like really like popular music, and I didn't have that many friends around me who were like really into music like I was, so TikTok was my outlet for that. And yeah, I started growing like a really cool community on TikTok. And then around January of 2021 is when I started That Good Sht. I started That Good Sht solo. It began as just an Instagram page, and it was actually like a custom playlist business as well. So it was an Instagram page where there was like a Google form in the bio, and people could go fill out the Google form and PayPal me like $5, and then I'd curate a playlist for them based on what they were listening to, what kind of playlist they wanted and all that. And then on the Instagram of That Good Sht, I was just posting like music video clips, like album reviews, just kind of like, it was like my own little personal music blog. And then over time, especially after I moved to New York, it expanded into, well actually, in LA, we were doing like a ton of live events before I moved to New York. So it quickly became like a platform for live events, more of like an online community. I started going live all the time to like review music submissions with some old friends of mine. We started growing like an actual online community on the page. So it quickly became more of like, you know, a real platform than just my own personal page. And then, yeah, I moved to New York, started doing the artist interviews, and I was running everything by myself. And then I met my friend Quincy, who slowly started becoming a part of the group, started like helping out with events, things like that. The last 2 years, the rest of the team has really come together. Ria was introduced to me by a mutual friend pretty shortly after I met Quincy, and she was looking to just kind of like be my assistant, and she started helping out with just like random tasks, whatever we needed. Daman came on the team maybe like a little over a year ago now and started supporting with editing, which has been so helpful because I used to edit all the interviews myself, which sucked. And then, yeah, Raj joined the team recently, who's like our web designer, our like creative technologist, he goes by, and yeah, he helps with like stage visuals when we do events. He built our website from scratch. He runs our Twitter and just helps us maintain like a relevant online presence outside of our Instagram. So yeah, I've been building the team very slowly. I'm like super picky. Oh my God. I'm super picky about who I work with. And our team very much feels like a family, which I feel very lucky to have. And outside of kind of like our core team, we have a lot of other friends who sometimes will like curate a monthly playlist. Some of y'all who are watching might be familiar with Zillion, who's like a really talented DJ. He's been coming in and doing more interviews and write-ups, focusing on like more electronic music. So yeah, the team is continuing to expand. First of all, when it comes to my research, I look at a lot of different things. First and foremost, I always will go to the music first. I'll do a listen through of, if I have time, most of their discography, if not at least like the top couple songs. And then I try to pick a few random songs throughout their discography if I can't go through the whole thing, just to like get a feel for the music, what they're saying. I love asking questions about lyrics and about the music itself. So I feel like artists really appreciate when you actually are listening to their music. Another big thing that like I consider when I interview people is like I only interview artists that I'm genuinely a fan of and whose music I listen to, even if I recently discovered them. Yeah, I only interview artists that I'm actually like really passionate about and that I love. And then further research looks like a little Wikipedia page, check for the basics, some background, watching interviews they've done in the past. I love asking questions based on their answers from other previous interviews. I go through artists' Twitter a lot. I love asking people about their tweets and like Instagram posts as well. And then if I have friends who are a fan of that artist or know the artist or listen to them, I love asking my friends for anything they'd like to ask them, especially if I know anyone who's friends with that artist. I'll be like, what's like something people may not know or like a curveball I can throw at them. So there's that. And then normally I ride my bike to go conduct my interviews because I conduct a lot of interviews like outside. So normally I'm on my bike listening to their music, thinking of any last minute questions. And then yeah, once it gets into the time to like actually do the interview, I sit down with the artist. I usually try to talk to them for a couple minutes before the interview actually starts, just to like get some like real human connection, ask them how their day's going, all of that. Once we press record, I kind of just get into a flow of asking about my points that I have in my notebook, but also allowing for any natural questions to come up. I really just aim to have my interviews feel like a genuine conversation. Editing can be done in post, and so like for the real in-person interaction, I just want it to be a very pleasant, flowing experience that feels natural, feels fun, and doesn't just feel like question, answer, but feels like a genuine conversation with a friend. So yeah, that's how I conduct my interviews. The first artist I interviewed was Gwen Bunn. She's a producer and really talented musician. I interviewed her in LA. And then after that, my second interview was Terry Presume at a Pigeons and Planes and Big Ass Kids event for the release of their See You Next Year album, this is the second one. Actually, the first one was not down here. But yeah, that was my second interview. And then shortly after that, yeah, JID. But Gwen Bunn was my first videotaped artist interview. I did a couple like audio interviews that I transcribed onto That Good Sht before, but my first video interview was with Gwen Bunn. Everything in my career has been a very natural progression, just kind of working with what I had. So like my first interactions with the music industry was like labels starting to hit me up and artists starting to hit me up asking me to like make videos promoting a song or promoting one of their shows and things like that. And then my first couple artist interviews were just with artists that I already had like a personal relationship with, who were down for me to, you know, sit down and talk with them. And then like my third interview ever was like JID, which was fucking insane. And that happened because my friend Luis, who had like DJ'd a bunch of our early shows in LA, and who was like a really good friend of mine just in the LA music scene, got a job at Interscope, and he helped set that up because JID was releasing the Forever Story. He's like, hey, come to this album release event, maybe we can get an interview with you and JID. And the whole night I was bothering JID like, hey, like, are we gonna do an interview? Like, what's up? And then I caught him when he was leaving and he'd had a couple drinks and I was like, let's do this. And he was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And yeah, after the JID interview, everything like exploded. And since then, it's really been most of the artist interviews that have come to me have been the artists or their team or their labels reaching out to me. I still do some outreach. I definitely have begged a couple artists for interviews. But yeah, I feel like for me, navigating the industry has always felt more like just navigating interpersonal relationships. I do work with labels sometimes, but I really prefer to just like, yeah, talk to artists directly, talk to managers directly. But yeah, navigating the industry has felt like a very natural progression. I had just like for several years been dreaming of moving to New York. I had some family members who had spent some time in New York in their 20s, and everyone was always like, this is the place you need to be in your 20s. And I was really craving like a big city metropolitan lifestyle, because I lived in kind of the suburbs of LA growing up, so I was around like actual downtown LA a lot, but a lot of my life didn't look like living in a big city. And I really craved just, yeah, like living in the middle of a big city with a lot of stuff going on. And I also at the time, around like 2020, was getting super into artists like Mavi, Mike, and all of them. And I started managing an artist for the first time who lived in Boston. And just all this music I was really excited about was coming out of the East Coast. So I was like, I feel like I need to be close to this. I need to move here. And so, yeah, beginning of 2022, packed my bags and found an apartment on Facebook Marketplace. I was very much full send. I was just like, I love taking really big risks in life, and I just felt like this was like a huge leap for me. I felt like New York kind of held the keys to entering the next era of my life, and I got active like right away as soon as I touched down. Like I had a couple friends out here, like Travis George, who runs the platform Sunday Sauce, who we know very well. He immediately, you know, was like inviting me to shows, plugging me into stuff with the community. I started making a ton of friends. Just the music community here is very strong. And I already had a pretty good audience because of all of my activity online. So yeah, it was really easy for me to build connections. I started throwing shows like right away, like 1 to 2 months after I moved. I was already like hosting events, showcases. Actually, like the artist I'm interviewing later today was on one of our very first shows when I moved out here. And so yeah, I was putting stuff together immediately, and I started DJing pretty shortly soon after I moved here as well. There's been like several moments, I would say. Like the JID moment was definitely the first big thing that launched the platform off. I would say some other big things were like Earth Gang inviting me on tour in like early 2022. That's when I started to like really realize that my role as like a music content creator was actually really important and people cared. I would also say like interviewing West Side Gun was a fat moment for me. It also helped me, I feel like, gain the respect of a lot of other like artists, especially like hip hop artists, to really see that like I really am working hard and I really am, you know, like getting that recognition from an artist that important and that tasteful. So I think those have been some of my biggest moments. And then most recently, I think like interviewing Doechii was like a major moment for me personally, being like, okay, yeah, like what I'm doing is working and I could keep doing it, yeah. The Doechii one was really crazy. She was doing a campaign with Sprite around this song she made called Rocket. And they wanted to do an interview piece around the song. And the Sprite team reached out to me and they were like, hey, Doechii asked if you could do her interview. And I was like, me? And this was before her Alligator Bites Never Heal album had dropped. But I was a fan of her for a long time before that. And so, yeah, I was really geeked. I got to like fly out to LA, go to TDE Studios and interview her. And it was the best day ever. I have a wish list that I update regularly. My manager and I always like review it every couple months. Shout out to my manager, Shemaine. Also, I didn't mention her in the team earlier, but she's great. And yeah, I would say some people on my list for sure right now are like Kaytranada, Anderson .Paak. Ideally, No Worries as a duo, like Anderson .Paak and Knowledge, but I know Knowledge is not getting in front of a camera for an interview, but we'll see about that. The Alchemist would be really cool. Sudan Archives would be really cool. It's her record right here. Hiatus Coyote. I want to interview like every artist that I listen to. Erykah Badu would be crazy. So I have a long wish list.
I would say practice your conversation skills. As I've been on the like end of interviews where I'm being interviewed a lot, and sometimes it will feel like a very like question answer. The interviewer may be nervous, which is totally fine and normal. It's okay to be nervous, but the conversation can just feel very choppy and uncomfortable. And I think like getting the best interview you're gonna get comes from making the artist, the interviewee, feel comfortable, feel safe. So I'd say really practice your conversation skills, really practice like memorizing your points so you can lead it into questions very easily based on the answers that an artist is giving. Like if I ask an artist a question about one thing, they end their answer on another topic, I can pick up that answer and create a new question out of it, you know? So trying to make an easy flow. Definitely do your research. Don't ask about anything you're not 100% sure about. I've made this mistake, and like ask questions about like something that wasn't true, and they'll be like, what the fuck? So definitely be well researched, and just try to ask the questions that no one else is asking. Try to ask questions that you feel the artist may have always wanted to be asked, but no one's ever taken the care to ask them. And I would say avoid talking about drama and controversy unless that's really your bag. But just for me personally, I feel like most of these artists are like really tired of that and don't care to talk about that stuff. So I'd say steer away from like drama, controversy, negativity, and just focus on the music or whatever the subject is you're interviewing about.
Yeah, I'd say like be really honest and specific about your taste. Whatever about your music taste might feel a little like weird or embarrassing to you is probably what's gonna make it really appealing and interesting to other people. So like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, make yourself cringe a little bit. Like, you know, just be very honest and specific about what you like and why you like it. Like nobody else has your perspective. So yeah, I would say just be like really confident in your perspective, and you really don't have to do too much. Like I would say like avoid anything gimmicky when you're trying to build a platform, whether it be as a content creator, building a blog or anything like that. Yeah, really like remain disciplined as well, like remain consistent. If you really want to build something that's gonna last a long time, you gotta work at it every day for the most part. And also rest. Rest is productive, and I feel like people forget that. So definitely, you know, while being consistent is important, and also don't be afraid to like rest and take a break. All of them definitely have a cool story. We obviously, like, I have Blonde right here in front of me, which is like my all-time favorite album, which I think many of us can relate to. I have it tattooed on my arm as well. I'm very serious about this album. So Pigeons and Planes teamed up with this cool company called Big Ass Kids to make their compilation album See You Next Year. This is the record from See You Next Year 2, where they brought all the artists together at Shangri-La, Rick Rubin's studio in Malibu. And I actually was able to visit for a day during the sessions. And I used to, Shangri-La Studios is on the way to my dad's house. My mom and dad are separated. And so whenever I would drive from my mom's to my dad's house up PCH in Malibu, I would always drive in front of Shangri-La and like look down the driveway and be like, one day I'm gonna be in there. And then a couple years later, I was able to actually go and witness like some sessions for this album. So this is very special to me. Got Monty Booker on the cover. So yeah, I love that. I think it's worth mentioning this Swami Sound record. I love Swami Sound. Was one of my first friends I made when I moved to New York. And Swami was actually the first interview I filmed when I moved to New York, but the sound messed up and we never posted it. And I think we've done one or two other interviews that never came out. But I'm a big fan of Swami Sound, and I also really credit Swami with being the door that like opened me up to electronic music. I was never that into dance or electronic music earlier in my life until I moved here. And yeah, Swami like really opened me up to that world along with some other great artists and friends. But yeah, big shout out Swami. Yeah.